Welcome to the Brett and Gus Show. Please make sure to hit the subscribe and like buttons. Today on our quick hits, we're going to feature the FISA abuse investigation. Dan Bongino will map it out for us. Here we go.
Welcome back. Well, bombshell new records reveal that despite an apparent anti-Trump bias, not apparent, there was one, the FBI continued to use the Steele dossier for FISA applications to spy on the Trump campaign.
This as we learn that top DOJ official Bruce Ohr kept in contact with Christopher Steele even after the special counsel Robert Mueller's appointment.
So why is that a big deal? Here to react and put it in context, Fox News contributor, former Secret Service agent and author of Spygate, Dan Bongino here. Dan, you called this whole thing 2 years ahead of when it unwound. You told me on a cab ride in Washington, and it came out, yeah, absolutely.
Going to that, event.
Well, let's pretend as though people haven't been watching it as closely as we have. Why does this matter so much, the 302 proving that Bruce Ohr was in contact with the fired British agent Christopher Steele?
You have to understand this as an information laundering operation from the start. There was an effort to target the Trump team with information that was factually inaccurate, that he was colluding with the Russians. So, if I was going to target Brian Kilmeade for a bank robbery he didn't do and had to fabricate a story, you have to ask yourself in the audience, how would I give that story credibility and teeth? I would do it by having multiple people talk about the bank robbery you committed, even though you didn't do it. This is what happened here. You had Christopher Steele as a front. It's called the Steele dossier. It's not called the Kavalek dossier. It's not called the Simpson dossier. Why was Steele used as a front for false information by the FBI? Why was his name slapped on it? The answer is very simple, because Steele had been a credible source for the FBI in the past, working on the FIFA case, the soccer corruption case. In other words, in front of a judge, they could present Steele as a legitimate front for false information, which made the Kilmeade bank robbery story sound legit, even though it was made up.
Trusted ally of the FBI.
Trusted ally of the FBI. Now, what's the real damning bombshells in this, and I didn't get through the whole thing, but I've been through most of it and a lot of the good stuff, is that Steele may not have even written the dossier. He may have been a part of it. But now we know Nellie Ohr, in fact, put together a dossier, who's Bruce Ohr from the Department of Justice's wife, who's working for Fusion GPS, contracted by the Clinton campaign. We know that Nellie Ohr, in fact, wrote a dossier on Manafort, which again begs the obvious question. If Steele's name is on the dossier because he was credible, because he'd worked with the FBI in the past, did he even write it? And if he didn't, is the lie that much worse that you slapped his name on political information to make it seem legitimate? Devastating.
So he gets fired in the fall, and he keeps on talking to Bruce Ohr,
yes,
whose wife has that opposition research company.
Yes.
Okay, fine. So they're communicating through the WhatsApp, so a confidential app when you don't want people to see your communication. So that's now revealed. Christopher Steele, I want to add something to this, was very determined to speak to the FBI about a month ago.
Yep.
And one of the terms was because he thought he was about to be thrown under the bus.
Yep.
Does that make your wheels turn?
Yes, and it again adds to the theory here. I call this is the focus of my second book on this. This is what I call the movie script theory. Christopher Steele's name is used on this, and this is what I think he means by being thrown under the bus, on this dossier, on information he did not create. Christopher Steele had already acknowledged in sworn depositions he hadn't been to Russia during this time period.
Because he would have been arrested. He had to use sources in Russia.
Right, and what I mean by the movie script theory is if you go back to 2007, not 2017, 2007, there is a Wall Street Journal article written by who? You're never going to believe this. Glenn Simpson. I encourage you to read that article today and then compare it to the dossier. It is the dossier. It's the same information. In other words, Brian, from 12 years ago, they took a movie script Simpson had, slapped Christopher Steele's name on it, changed a few of the names to Donald Trump. I'm telling you, you read it today, the cast of characters, Demetrio Firtash, Paul Manafort, they are all in that 2007 Glenn Simpson article. It's devastating.
So, Dan, the election happens, and from one of these 302s, the one from January 27, 2017, the communication continues, and let me read this excerpt from the 302. It says, Ohr received a WhatsApp notification from Christopher Steele indicating that he and Steele would like to keep the line of communication open for future contact. What's the rationale for ongoing future contact? The president's been elected. They're still talking.
Well, here's the great part about this. I mean, great for damaging for the left. Christopher Steele is already on record with the FBI as being deemed, and this is their quote, not mine, not suitable for use. They fire him in November. But the question is, that's on the record. In November, he's not suitable for use anymore. Was he really fired? The answer is obviously not. Now, to answer your question, why then put on paper that he's not suitable for use? Because it creates a good public face. Hey, we're not using this guy anymore. But then behind the scenes, back channel information.
Yeah.
The answer is obvious when you think about it. It's the only source of information.
Yeah.
Brian didn't rob a bank. Trump didn't collude with Russia. The only source of the rumor is Steele.
There was something in here, too, that said the individual with links to the dossier, I assume that's Steele, was desperate that Donald Trump not get elected and was passionate about him not being the U.S. president. And that's what Bruce Orr told
But
the-
why is that devastating? The reason that's devastating is the FBI footnote on the FISA, on paper, you can read it yourself, says we possess no derogatory information about the source. Gee, you think the fact that he doesn't want the President of the United States has a political agenda is derogatory? I think
already
so.
found to be leaking to the press.
Maybe kind of sort of a big deal?
Yeah, I would think so.
Unbelievable.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks, Adam.
Thank you for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed the update. Please hit the subscribe and like buttons. Have a wonderful day. Thank you.